Sunday afternoon, my folks. Settle down, sit back, pick up a project to work on. Yes, I've been working on my wrap today so far. Most of the morning I've worked on it. I'm going to set it down for now, though, for story time. Take my glasses off. That might help. That way you don't see the glare. Don't really need scripts for these. They're just funny stories. And this is going to kind of be a triple stories today. The first story is straight out. The second story has a precursor story that leads into it. Well, I was watching a live the other day. The conversation between the panel turned to, between the panel and talking amongst themselves. I think it was Triple Threat Thursday, I think. The topic was locking themselves out of their house. This one I title The Love Seat Turtle. And it begins. I was sitting outside. I didn't smoke. This was in Florida, and I didn't smoke in the house at the time. So I was sitting outside. I want to say it was my sister that was visiting with me. I could be wrong. I honestly, I don't remember who it was that was with me. But we'd gone out. We had our coffee with us. Yes, I'm still using my ding subject change. But we had stepped outside to have a cigarette, had our coffee. We're sitting at the little bistro table I had out there with the two chairs. I've since given that to my sister. And I had to go back inside for something. I went to the door of the house and it was locked. I knew the back sliding door was locked. I knew I couldn't get in through our garage. It was a very, very small single-car garage on the house. And it was divided. There was a separating wall that my then husband and his stepfather had put in. One portion was a little bit of storage, and then the other portion was his gaming room. I knew I couldn't get in through there. If I could have gotten through there, I could have gone in through the laundry room door into the kitchen. That wasn't happening because there's no way I could have crawled over everything that was stored in that front portion of the garage. So I proceeded to mangle the screen, getting it off the living room window, which was right where the bistro table was. We pulled the table forward so I could muscle the screen off. The window was unlocked. Well, I got the screen off, pretty well mangled, like I said. Pushed the window up. Took a little bit of effort on that. And we had a love seat right in front of that window, on the inside, of course. Silly me. Silly me. Brain not working. Apparently I hadn't had enough coffee that morning. Instead of pushing the love seat out of the way, that would have been the smart thing to do, right? Instead of pushing the love seat out of the way, I proceeded to try to climb over the back of it to the seat of it. Bear in mind, at that time, I was still almost 300 pounds. Love seat didn't like it much. It proceeded to flip over on top of me. And hence, I became a love seat turtle. Picture that, if you will. I hope I've given you a good image. I survived it without any injury. Got the door unlocked, went and did what I needed to do, and went back out and had another cigarette. The second story is, and like I said, this is the precursor to the final story. And this one is titled, Mama Goes Down the Rabbit Hole. One of my dogs, his name was Lyoka. He was an Afghan Maremma mix. Beautiful, beautiful dog. Big dog. Well, he was up in the backyard. We had a pretty good sized backyard. Or I had a pretty good sized backyard. This was at my trailer in East Tennessee, well before my move. I think I'd been there maybe 4 or 5 years at this point. And so he wouldn't come. He would not come to me. So I stomped my blank, blank, blank butt up the backyard, which was overgrown. I didn't have a mower. I had no way to mow that backyard. So I stomped my way up to where he was, and he just stayed there and watched me approach him. Gave me no issue when I latched onto his collar and started to walk back down to the trailer. I'm going down through, and all of a sudden, and pardon my French on this one, going back down, and all of a sudden, I ended up on my arse. And I heard, didn't feel, not really, I heard a snap. The sandal or whatever I had on, slide-on sandal, is still buried down there in that hole somewhere. I know the hole has been covered over since. I had people that were staying with me at the point, so I'm sitting there on the ground and I'm yelling and yelling and yelling and yelling, trying to get one of their attention. Well, finally my friend came to the door. What's the matter? What's the matter? Well, Lyoka, he's gone back to the backyard and he's run down to the porch because she was at the door. He wanted to go in. And it's like, you need to call 911. Why? Why are you sitting on the ground? Well, I informed her that I had stepped in a rabbit hole. And as a result of stepping in said rabbit hole, I'd broken my leg. Or I was pretty sure I'd broken my leg. I still wasn't feeling any pain, which I know when something like that happens, you go into shock and you won't feel pain for a while. I said, I've fallen in a hole. I've broken my leg. You need to call 911. Get an ambulance here. Well, can we help you into the house? I says, Dad, I can't get out of this hole. I can't stand up. They're going to have to come out back here and get me. She called the ambulance service and they came, and these two gorgeous hunks of guys came and they managed to get me up, get me to a point where they could get me on a stretcher, get me out to the ambulance. And it was funny because it was several years later that I had to call an ambulance again. And one of the guys is looking at me. He says, I think I've been here before. I says, oh, really? Yeah. Weren't you out back one day and you stepped in a hole and broke your leg? I think I probably turned every shade of red there was possible. They got me to the hospital, and yes, they confirmed that I had, in fact, broken my leg. I can't really show you. Just below the knee. Didn't require surgery. Nothing was out of place. They didn't cast it. As a matter of fact, they put on one of the most uncomfortable brace things that had the metal bar in it and wrapped around. I hated the thing. I hated the thing. And of course, they sent me home with a pair of crutches. Well, Mama is not known to be the most coordinated person. So this kind of will pass a little bit of time here. Because I couldn't use the crutches, my mother rented a wheelchair for me. It's fine. I could get down my hallway. I could get into the bedroom. I could get into the other rooms in the trailer. The only one I had a problem with was the bathroom, and I'd managed to get myself up, holding on to walls and whatnot, enough to kind of hop to what I needed to do my business. But, so, transition to the third story, which I am going to title The Wheelchair Turtle. You probably got an idea where this is going. Kind of, sort of, maybe. Yeah. You probably got a bit of an idea. But I used the wheelchair I would wheel up to the door, lock the tires, wheels, whatever, stand up, put my foot down on the porch, turn around, hold on to the chair and bring it outside. Get it outside, turn around, sit back down, yada yada, unlock the wheels, have my cigarettes, because it was a process. I was like, well, I'm not going out for just one cigarette for this. I had one day, wheeled up to the door, locked the tires, wheels, whatever you want to call them, locked the wheels, stood up, turned around, grabbed a hold of the arms of the wheelchair, lost my balance, went over backwards, pulling the wheelchair with me. On top of me, I became a wheelchair turtle. I lived alone at the time. There was no one there, there with me. The people who lived across the road from me, their granddaughter, great-granddaughter, maybe she was their I think she was their granddaughter. May have been their I don't remember. I heard her calling her, Bobby, Bobby, Mary fell, Mary fell. Well, I hear the door close at at the mobile home across the road. And I hear Bobby coming across the road. Now, Bobby stood maybe 6'3", 6'4", thin as a beanpole. And he had back issues. So I really had no idea how he was going to help me get up. Well, he came and he managed to get up onto the porch, and he picked up the wheelchair off of me, got it upright and put in place, locked the tires, the wheels are still locked. He says, can you scoot over towards the stairs? I look at him and it's like, there's no way, Bobby, there's no way you can help me up. He says, will you just scoot over to the stairs? Okay, sir. Yes, sir. I managed to make my way over to the stairs. And once I was seated at the edge of the stairs, he kind of bent over the top of me. He says, okay, reach up, wrap your hands around my neck. Bobby, there's no way. Just do it, he said. So it was another, yes, sir. Wrapped my arms around his neck, and he managed to get me up. He said, okay, now hang on to the railings. He says, I'm going to bring the wheelchair over to you. Brought the wheelchair over, I sat down, and trauma ended. I don't remember how many cigarettes I stayed outside and had that time. So, I thanked him. Not a problem, he says. You need anything, you just give us a holler. And he went back home. So there you have the story of my love seat turtle, Mama goes down a rabbit hole, and my wheelchair turtle. I hope you have enjoyed the stories, and that's story time for this week. I'm working on figuring out what I'm going to tell for the story next week. I think it's going to involve mowing lawns. I'll let your imagination run wild for now. Y'all have a good afternoon. Hugs and smooches from Mama Wench. Mama loves you.